welcome to another one of Arthur's Engage reviews. This one's about Arrowhead Miniatures, who are a company that until recently I'd not heard about, but they operate in quality in 1/144th scale, as it says there. So let's find out. Well, as you may have gathered, they're a military modeler, and their models in 1/144th scale are all in white metal, which suits us greatly. Now, one of the interesting things they have, if I go to World War I and British, is tanks that will go with the Graham Farish World War I tank train. Isn't that lovely? And at £4.99 a thrash, with very cheap postage, I have to say. On that one is slightly more expensive, at £5 something. Obviously, a good model. Now, in this particular instance, I've gone for World War II. I've gone for a British Austin K2 ambulance, which I'm going to make up, but it's not going to look like that because of my naval background. I want one that looks like the Navy might have used it, just to be different. I'm also doing an American model, and it says here there's 5 pages of American models, which is not bad, and I'm on page 3, and I'm going to make up the GMC 2.5 tonner with the open cab version, known affectionately as a Jimmy or the deuce and a half. A 2.5 tonner in American is deuce and a half. £4.25, which equates, well, if I'd have gone for a similar thing from America, it would have probably cost me the thick end of £30 to get over here. So again, it's a cast metal kit. So we look forward to making this up, and I'm going to make this particular up with a different top on it, but of course that is my choice. How did I find out about Arrowhead Miniatures? Well, they were featured in the latest, and I'm talking January 2018 now, in the latest Engage journal. So what a good tip to have from your Engage society, to find a new quality, we hope, model maker. So anyway, having placed the order, and the items arrived by return of post. So a blister pack with the light shining off it. Turn it upside down, and out comes a resealable bag with the items in it, and this one is actually the American 2.5 tonner. Getting that well-known modelling tool, the takeaway bag, and inside we have the K2 in similar packaging. There are no instructions with these, but from looking at them, I think a construction is fairly self-evident. Now, as this is messing about with a new project or a new company, I thought I would further experiment by using some new to me paints. So we're going to try the Precision Models paints on this, which I believe are still enamel, and to glue it together we're going to test out Gorilla Glue. And this is a two-part epoxy version of Gorilla. It looks a bit overscale for what I'm going to use it for, but we shall find out. Now, method will be fairly straightforward. I'm going to put the bits into the takeaway box and wash them in soapy water. When they're dry, they're then going to be painted with Precision Paints PQ5 grey general purpose primer. So that will be our sealant, and then in the case of the Austin K2 I'm using provincial dark blue or regional railways dark blue, Pheonix P154, and that's what it looks like, and I'm hoping that that's a fairly good match for navy blue, and if it's not, well, a bit of weathering around the gills won't hurt any. So that's how the models are going to be made up. Let's see how we get on. Yes, all you experts out there, you're absolutely right. Before I wash the items, I'm actually going to remove those small bits of flash, and that will keep handling down to an absolute bare minimum once the castings have been washed and dried. Well on the way with the painting of the bits now. One coat of the Precision's general purpose grey was all that was necessary, and 2 coats so far of their blue colour. Obviously good quality paint, quite thin when it goes on, but then it dries to a darker hue. And because we're painting things like the black on the tyres, I thought we'd make it a bit of a batch job. So here's a couple of other models that are in the paint shop at the same time. Both Bedfords, as I hope you can see, are this general utility vehicle. Truck is going to be another one of the RN jobs. And here we have a Green Goddess, which is painted yellow. It's my version of Coventry fire engine yellow, which is an official colour. City of Coventry was the first fire brigade to experiment with yellow coloured vehicles. So this obviously started out as one of Mr. Osborne's plain grey versions, and it's halfway through its painting. If you haven't seen the range of computer printed vehicles available from Osborne's, then I suggest you do. I'm just a happy recipient, no interest in the company other than it's another place to buy vehicles for your model railway in Engage that are just a little bit different. Well, we're at the end of the model making almost. I haven't yet fitted rear doors to the K2 because I might want to model it open. Now it's got 3 coats of the paint on it, but still a little light compared to the Oxford AEC in RN paint and markings, which is what I'm using as my reference point. Now I do know that that dark blue RN did appear in quite a few shades due to wear and different paint probably being used over the years, so I'm not too worried that at the moment I've got a lighter version. I can always darken it down at some stage, and yet to put any other vehicle markings on it. Now you remember this became a bit of a batch job, so how did we get on with the other items? Well, here's my Bedford lorry, and again it's a bit light in comparison, but we won't worry too much about that. And of course, while we've been at it, the windows in all these models have been glazed. Here's the green goddess that's yellow. Quite pleased with that. Picked it out with silver paint, bit of red, and again a glazed front. And while we were at it, we also had a go at Mr. Osborne's battery operated milk float, complete with the milk bottles. Isn't that a delightful model? Now, of course, none of these models are perfect. If you go to an N-Gauge or any railway exhibition, you're liable to see the best that's available. All these modelers had to start somewhere, and they don't show you the failures. Now, I don't profess to be an excellent model maker, but with N-Gauge in particular, at normal viewing distance, all those little imperfections tend to disappear, and the viewer sees the view in general rather than in detail, and imagination can make up a lot for what's there. So here we have, sign's the wrong way round. Three vehicles from Osborne. They're all plastic, by the way, printed, I think. Excellent models. Our K2, obviously an Oxford die cast, and entering stage left. We have a Graham Farish Bristol VR. That was originally a Maidstone and District, and with a little painting and a decal, it is now a Lincolnshire bus. Here again, not to be left alone, is a BT Models of the famous Atlantean. Lovely big old bus. Now this one started off as, well, I can't read my own writing, as a Southdown, circa 1975 to 1990 it says. Well, I'll tell you that I was driving both these vehicles way after 1990, but that would happen as this one is now resplendent as a Lincolnshire road car. Okay, so that's the model making. As I say, don't be afraid to experiment with a dab of paint. For the most part, nobody's going to see the imperfections, and if you don't show or take them to exhibitions, nobody's going to find out anyway. Now, a word about the materials that we used. Just to recap on the Pheonix Precision paints. My review of these is they're excellent. I shall buy some more. Easy to apply, they go on nice and thinly, they cover evenly, and I don't have any problem with them. I'm particularly impressed with the grey general purpose primer. PQ5 it says if you want to order the stuff over the phone. Particularly good value. Now the Gorilla Glue. I said at the start that I think that this applicator is a little overscale for use in N-gauge, and it still is. However, having said that, the glue itself of course does the job. It's excellent, but I need to find a smaller applicator for N-gauge. If I was using this material in 00, then, and certainly I think then the size would be excellent. So no problems with this. One very minor point: if you're inside the house and lighting isn't too good, then the colour differences between the two liquids that make up the epoxy don't show up too well. So when you're mix the two together, you're looking for a very light sort of yellowish tinge, and so that's not straightforward with old eyes or bad lighting. But this is a very minor point. Now one other thing, as I've said in previous reviews, microcrystal clear is what I use to glaze all the windows of the vehicles, and it worked perfectly as I would expect. I did experiment with micro metal foil adhesive. It says on the front here, create realistic metal surfaces, fast drying, permanent, easy to apply. Well, I applied it to the bumpers of a couple of the vehicles, expecting them to come out a nice silver colour, and nothing happened. I applied it on, it dried, and I could still see the yellow underneath, or the blue on the other Bedford. So what did I do? Well, I just painted them with a little bit of silver paint, which I should have done in the first place. So Mr. Microscale, unless I'm doing it wrong, we don't think much to your metal foil adhesives. Okay, come to the end of this one. Happy modelling. See you next time.